But we spend a lot of time talking about obesity drugs and their proliferation around the world now. You've written a research piece that I thought was really interesting on the impact all of these GLP-1 drugs could have on the retail market, on the clothing market. Do you really expect this to be a material tailwind to the clothing market in 2024?
In the US, I think it's probably a bigger tailwind. I think our team over the US wrote a piece where they think it could drive about 2% tailwind in terms of the overall sales growth. I think in the UK, whilst these drugs have now been approved, I think we'll see less people kind of pushing for it. We don't have that same kind of pharmaceutical relationship with doctors where you're kind of going and requesting drugs perhaps in the way that you might in the US. So I do still think that, given the success that it's having, if you do get the level of update for the number of people it's recommended to, and we do see that weight loss, there will be potential for wardrobe refreshes, and obviously that's going to help rather than hinder the retail market, but perhaps not as big an impact here as you'd get in the US.
I'll tell you something, I actually made the mistake of going down to Oxford Circus, the day after Boxing Day on the 27th. I had to buy a few things for my kids, and it was absolutely jammed. There were people everywhere. It was impossible to walk around. And it made me think that, we thought during the pandemic that everyone's sales habits would have permanently changed or, structurally changed to move towards more online. But it feels as though people are coming back into stores again, physically going into stores. Footfall is going back up again. How do you see those trends evolving? And did you actually see an uptick in the numbers in terms of physical footfall in stores?
Well, yeah, so the numbers from MRI Springboard, who report on retail footfall, showed that actually high street footfall post-Christmas Boxing Day sales has been very strong, particularly in London, so I think you'll have seen that in Oxford Street. And it's interesting when you look at Next numbers as well, they did particularly well in the week after Christmas. So I think that sales habit is definitely one that's still very strong, particularly as kind of households are struggling maybe a little bit with the cost of living still. In terms of the overall shift, I think we've seen probably, in my view, most of the unwind now from COVID. So I think we will return to a world where online is growing again. But I think we're talking at a low rate. So back to that historic trend of kind of a gradual shift online, but people still continuing to shop in store.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what are the rough numbers right now for UK spending, footfall versus physical versus online, if you know them?
So I don't know the numbers right off the top of my head. I know that footfall was up, I think, around 6% year on year in the kind of post-Christmas period. So we have really seen that. Overall, it does remain down versus 2019, though. So that long-term trend is still the same.